because there's no plot. Why would I watch that?
What is plot?
Great question. Plot is conflict. So we need the character first. For me, I always need the character first. Sometimes, though, I do come up with a situation first. And plot's kind of a situation, but we do have to put the character in the situation. So we put a character in a situation and the character has a goal. And you go, great, the character has a goal. And then the character moves forward to that goal and we throw obstacles at that character, and that's plot. How is the character going to move through those obstacles? Will they make the right or wrong decision? Will they learn from that decision? That's essentially what plot is to me, is throwing obstacles at the character and then seeing how they get out of them, for better or for worse, and then how they move on to the next scene. So that's when that's when the beauty of creating the plot and essentially creating the 3-act structure that kind of turns into this huge showdown at the end. But we need to know how the character gets in and out of obstacles throughout the whole movie. And then that's adding to the plot. And it's all pointing to one direction when we get to that showdown. So
how would you teach plot right now? If I'm a new student in the class and I don't know what that is,
sure.
Like a sort of a Reader's Digest version of.
I like to come up with really lame, like the lamest situation. Like I'll say, so let's say your character wants to buy gum. Okay, great. That's any goal, as long as the character's totally invested in the goal, makes sense. So if the character wants to rule all of the world, great. If the character wants a stick of gum, great. But it needs to mean just as much to that character to get that stick of gum. So let's get them a stick of gum. Great. The store's across the street. Now, as your character walks to get that stick of gum, what can you do to make it harder for them to get that stick of gum? And then I throw it to my students. And it's just like, let's just be absurd. Let's be totally absurd. What would you do? I get a baseball bat and I knock them in the knees. Great. Knock them in the knees. Beat those kneecaps out. But that character still needs that gum, and we're going to love that character for using his elbows to try to get to that store, to get to the gum. What can we do next? And so we can create we're creating plot by just throwing essentially, rocks at this character who wants something so bad. And there's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun discussing plot with my students because it's just like, let's come up with the silliest scenarios. And then, great, now when you go to your scene where the woman wants the man to ask her on a date, but she's not sure what he thinks of him, and the stakes are just as high as if someone wants a piece of gum or someone wants to be the ruler of the world. Now, what are the obstacles you're going to put in? And then when they have a character worksheet, they know the flaws and the strengths of their characters, then they know how to bring all of that in, heighten it beyond belief. And then we're going to watch that scene and be like, is he going to ask her out or not? So that's essentially plot to me.
Okay. And then should I be writing this sidebar thing that no one's going to see, that I'm going to know about the convenience store clerk? And that's going to help set up maybe the tension in the scene. So our protagonist is going to run in and they're going to fumble for change for this gum. And there's going to be something about this clerk that's going to now add new conflict. Maybe that clerk used to be a CEO and they were let go. And this is a job they got. And they remember this person because that was one of their employees. And now, but necessarily the audience won't know that I have all this backstory, but there's going to be a tension there.
Yeah, and I feel like as long as the story stays on the protagonist who wants the gum, and then this is another obstacle. So they actually make it to the store after all of my students have thrown in all their, we're going to take out his tongue and his teeth. He won't be able to chew gum. Okay, what are we going to do there? And then, yeah, you add even more tension when we get to the story. We can have another antagonist of sorts blocking the actual getting of the gum, or maybe the protagonist gets a helper. Maybe the clerk is a helper in the situation,
Oh,
and
okay.
then because our heroes do need helpers along the way, and then but then we'll lose that helper. And that's when we have the victories and the losses. If we give too much losses, if we're throwing too much loss at a character, then we'll lose our audience. But we get that character, that victory. It's like, oh, the gum, great. What's next? That's what we need. We need to ask the question, what's next? And we also need to give them a moment to breathe and go, ah, we got the gum, and then I don't know where to go from there, and because that's such a simplistic story. But that's the victories and losses. And when I work with my students, when they do their beat sheets, I'm like, note where the victories are, note where your breaths are, because you need to give your character oh, all right, I got this. But that's the last thing they got, because the next thing's coming up and going to hit them even harder. And it's like, whew, fix that, and then boom, next.
So do you find a lot of writers, maybe they're more intermediate, they're not letting it breathe enough? They know, hey, I need conflict and I need it by this point, but now they're infusing too much conflict?
I think it's better to have more conflict than less, because it's a lot of fun to throw the conflict in there and then pull it out and go, that's too much. That's too much. Yeah, and sometimes people will ask, it feels so manufactured. And I'm like, it is manufactured. It feels fake. It is fake. It's just like, this isn't real life. Go ahead and feel awkward about it not feeling real, because you just keep crafting it and in the world of, in the building the world of. And this is when people talk about world building in science fiction movies or other things. There's world building in romantic comedies. There's world building in every single movie. So build that world, stay in the confines of the world, and then and let them run. Let the characters run.
Right, because if you want to go to Mystic Pizza or Pretty Woman or whatever, there was world building and all that. You have a small New England town, this restaurant. You got, is it Conchita Ferrell? She was like, she ran the restaurant, and it's it's kind of a fun atmosphere, but it's no nonsense. And they're waiting for this food critic to come in that they're all terrified of. That's going to either make or break the restaurant. So they're getting ready before the shift. They're polishing whatever. And so now we feel like, okay, I'm in this small town. I know that this restaurant means everything to this owner. And they're when the food critic comes in, they're all smiles, and it's probably overly, they're giving too much attention.
Yeah.
So, I'm not even sure where I'm going with that. I think I just explained all of Mystic Pizza. Sorry.
Right. And I still need to watch the film.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I feel bad.
Yeah, please.
I need to watch it, but you said you said exactly the thing. It's everything they want. It's their whole the character. We don't need to know that they have these other wants in their lives. Are they sexually satisfied in this relationship that we're not seeing off screen? Who cares? We need to know that restaurant critic coming in is the most important piece of their life.
Sure. And there might be a little bit of that in Mystic Pizza too.
Oh, is there? Oh, cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, you'll have to turn. What do you say to writers who tell you that plot doesn't matter?
There are writers who say plot doesn't matter.
There might be.
I think, I was thinking, you asked me, think of some movies that meant everything to you in one of our email exchanges. And I was thinking of Stranger Than Paradise, the Jim Jarmusch film. And the reason that meant everything to me is because I saw it when I was a kid on the PBS affiliate in San Francisco, Channel 9.
KQED.
Yes, yep. For some odd reason, they showed it over and over again. They said, this is only 67 takes and blah, blah, blah. But it made me realize that a movie is a craft and not just, that's when I got the separation, went, oh, wow. And a movie like that seems plotless, and a lot of it is plotless to an extent. Or is it?
Am I thinking of the one where they open with the two Elvis enthusiasts on a train? The Jim Jarmusch
That's
film?
Mystery Train.
Oh, okay, because I love that one too.
Yeah.
And then they go in this hotel and okay,
Right,
right,
right.
right.
No, that's a lot more. That has a lot more plot. This is the one with John Lurie and where they're just his Hungarian cousin comes to stay with him in Brooklyn, and it's yeah, it's like there's plot in there. So I like what film wouldn't have? What can you think of a film that doesn't have plot?
Okay, I know I'm not supposed to use this reference. Dinner with Andre. My Dinner with Andre. Does
Okay.
that have plot?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. Okay. Well, there.
But
I can't
think-
use that reference anymore.
But I think there. But I think I know the I know the actors in it, and I remember seeing clips of it. They do want something,
That's true.
and if they want something, do they get it? Are they having a conversation where they shift the where they shift the idea in the other person's mind, where the other person has a, oh, I didn't think of it that way moment, or are they just kind of coming at each other with, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me. So yeah, well, that's why I haven't seen My Dinner with Andre, because there's no plot. Why would I watch that? No.
Apparently, it did very well, but I'm just thinking of that from a long time ago. But
yeah, and that's just it's hard to come up with an example of a movie that doesn't really have plot, even if it's I love slow Scandinavian films. There's this author T. Singer that I read his books, and they're about nothing. And it brings me absolute joy. And the plot is like a little bit. There's even YouTube channels that show Norwegian trains just going from Oslo to Bergen, and I'll watch it. And so it might be there's no plot there, but there is forward momentum. There's no obstacles, but there's forward momentum. So maybe that's the an example of a reason not to have plot. Where I'll watch something, but I think I watch it more for artistic reasons than I do for like, oh my God, I can't wait till they get to Stavanger. No, I barely care. So I think I don't care, but I enjoy, if that makes sense.
yeah, there's great Norwegian or Scandinavian in general YouTube channels where they talk about different Christmas customs and things like that, and they are really fascinating to watch how they put it together.
Yeah,
it's very artistic.
No, I could watch dolphins just go in and out of the water for 2 hours, and I'll be, the March of the Penguins. I mean, what a beautiful film. There, if I remember right, there is plot to it because they are going somewhere to. I think it's all about the reproduction and the lengths they have to take. So there are very high stakes in the March of the Penguins, and it's presented to us in a, kind of a lighthearted way, but there's still stakes there. Yeah, I think I would not be interested in filmmakers who think that there's no reason for plot. That even a photographer has to have a plot. A photographer is telling a story. They're trying to frame a photo. They're looking for conflict. They're looking for how to present it. And it just may, then to one person that just like, oh, it's a picture of a face. But if you talk to the photographer, they'll tell you what the tension is. And then, so that we do need tension, I think.